There have been discussions about potentially exploring nuclear power in Burkina Faso over the years. However, no concrete measures have been put in place until now, when the Russian government has sent experts to construct nuclear power plants in the country. Burkina Faso is a member of the African Nuclear Energy Agency, which promotes the peaceful use of nuclear energy in the continent. A delegation from the Russian Atomic Energy Agency, commonly known by its acronym Rosatom, has been in Ouagadougou since August. They met and discussed pertinent matters with Burkina Faso's Minister of Energy, Ibrahim. It is worth noting that the decision to pursue nuclear power is a complex one, involving considerations of cost, safety, and environmental impact. In today's video, we shall be looking at how things are evolving in Burkina Faso with the advent and coming of Russian experts for the project. But before we ride on, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the new tourist channel to become part of our great family if you haven't yet done so. On June 5, during an international economic forum in St. Petersburg, 3 memoranda of understanding were signed between the Russian state corporation, Rosatom, and the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Quarries of Burkina Faso. The documents were signed by Alexei Likashev of Russia and Minister Cuba. The memoranda covered training and education in the field of nuclear energy, assessment and development of nuclear infrastructure, and promoting positive public opinion about nuclear energy. These documents set out the framework for cooperation in those areas to support the development of a national program for the peaceful use of nuclear energy. This whole big deal is part of President Ibrahim Traore's target to achieve 95% electricity access for urban areas and 50% for rural areas by 2030. According to Minister Cuba, Rosatom experts will be able to put their fingers on the realities of the energy issue in Burkina Faso. The Burkinabe government believes that a nuclear power plant will be able to definitely and permanently resolve Burkina Faso's energy deficit. According to some experts, human labor will also need to be provided for the project by Burkina Faso. Therefore, activities will involve teacher training, collaboration between educational institutions, cooperative short-term educational programs, the creation of scientific and educational material, and student exchanges. The partners also intend to determine the current needs for developing Burkina Faso's nuclear infrastructure. This work will follow Rosatom's recommendations and best practices. Note that Traore's government has turned to Russia for economic and military support since it seized power in 2022. Burkina Faso is one of the least electrified countries globally, with less than 25% of its population having access to electricity. The new deal with Russia is a culmination of talks between Traore and Vladimir Putin during last year's Russia-Africa summit in Moscow. During that meeting, Ibrahim Traore said, "We have a critical need for energy. This is an important point for me, because we need, if possible, to build a nuclear power station in Burkina Faso to produce electricity. Our position is rather strategic, because we are in the heart of West Africa, and we have an energy deficit in the sub-region." According to the International Energy Agency's report, Burkina Faso gets most of its electricity from biofuels like charcoal and wood, while oil products account for 1/3 of the total energy supply. Mark you, Burkina Faso has one of the highest electricity costs in Africa. South Africa is currently the only African state that produces nuclear power commercially, but increasingly, more nations on the continent are moving in the same direction. The sole operational reactor on the continent is located in Kleberg, near Cape Town. However, at present, a significant portion of electricity in South Africa is generated from coal, which harms the climate. Burkina Faso is not the only African country dabbling in nuclear energy in collaboration with foreign partners. Rosatom also aims to assist other countries in the continent in harnessing civilian nuclear power. Some of these countries we are going to enumerate in a moment are also considering nuclear power as a viable, low-carbon option for generating electricity alongside renewable energy sources. Russia is helping Egypt to build nuclear power plants worth billions of dollars, following a deal signed by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Putin in 2017. An inaugural nuclear power plant is under construction in the city of El Daba on the Mediterranean coast. The project is set to comprise 4 Russian power plant blocks, each generating 1,200 megawatts of power. Russia also signed a deal to build power plants in Nigeria that same year, but the project is yet to begin. Kenya has also announced plans to build its first nuclear power plant by 2027, but it is still to decide on its international partner. The districts of Kilifi and Kwale, which are located near the port metropolis of Mombasa, are currently being considered as potential locations. In September 2023, Rwanda announced that it had opted for the Canadian-German company, Dual Fluid Energy, to build a nuclear reactor by 2028. The Rwandan government says the reactor will be instrumental to meet the Central African country's energy demands and build resilience as a result of climate change. We should note that there are some potential benefits of nuclear power that Burkina Faso will stand to gain if the project is finally realized. They include a more reliable and baseload power, reduced carbon emissions, economic development, and energy independence. Nuclear power will reduce Burkina Faso's reliance on imported fossil fuels, enhancing energy, security, and independence. Bear in mind that President Ibrahim Traore's government has also adopted a resolution on the establishment of an atomic agency in the country. The document states and defines the provisions concerning the competence and rules of operation of the Burkina Atomic Agency. According to Traore, the creation of this agency will ensure the energy independence of Burkina Faso, boost industrialization, and facilitate access to electricity throughout the country. At the end of July, the government of Burkina Faso adopted a bill granting privileges and immunities to experts and officials of the International Atomic Energy Agency, whom the country will receive during the construction of its nuclear power plant. Many African countries are eyeing nuclear power to solve electrification challenges. Some critics say this is the wrong direction, pointing to solar energy as a welcome initiative for the sunny continent. Addressing the high initial costs of nuclear energy projects might be a significant challenge for African countries. The strategies they can consider, if interested, include international cooperation, public-private partnerships, multilateral cooperation, domestic resource mobilization, among others. There have been controversies on the issue of African countries wanting to secure nuclear energy for their citizens. For critics like Adrien Passo, former Central Africa Republic Minister for National Reconciliation, the construction of a nuclear power plant is merely a form of Russian propaganda. He once mentioned that it was absurd that the African continent, which has the sun, could have problems with energy and electricity, and that solar energy should be the solution, not an agreement to build a nuclear power plant. Others say such projects are not to the advantage of the continent, but for investors. The growing interest among investors, to some, is fueled by the need to exploit a market. The nations of Ghana, Nigeria, Sudan, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, who have inked agreements of intent with partners to investigate possible applications of nuclear energy in the upcoming years, are cited by detractors of nuclear energy as examples of countries where such programs have previously failed. Plans to establish nuclear plants in the country is one of President Traore's moves to align with Russia after falling out with most of his Western partners. Access to energy has increased in Africa in recent years. However, it remains low, with more than 50% of the region's population still lacking access to electricity. Do you think the idea of bringing Russian experts to construct nuclear power plants in Burkina Faso is a good one? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you never miss out on any of our interesting videos. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.